Councillor Hardwick, second round of questions.
Thanks very much. I'd like to go back to the question of assessment versus appraisal. My understanding, again, this is going to be to Jerry, is that the current zoning is industrial IC1. And is it really 41 plus million, or are we inflating the value? Is this really fair market value based on actual industrial use, or the speculative values based on the prospect of rezoning properties to be reassessed? So again, I'm not sure. I'm struggling with the notion that the PEF is trying to sell it for parks use for city cash so that they can deplete park budgets and speculate on property in the transfer from fresh funds. So why are we appraising industrial land at such a high level? And what is the comparison between this independent third-party professionals appraisal versus, so what if it was last year, the assessed value of the property?
So the Jerry Evans, Director of Real Estate Services. So the independent appraiser will always base their valuation at a valuation date, and it will be based upon comparable analysis of similarly zoned industrial properties that are generally commercial or industrial in nature. So they typically look at land sales that have occurred in the
I know how appraisals work. And so what is the assessed value of the property in comparison to the appraised value?
So the assessed value would be based upon a previous year valuation date. I don't have the 2021 assessed value to hand, but that would be based upon.
Well, I'm sure you can just go to the website and look it up, because BC Assessment lists all of those assessed values. It should
and that
be
would be
easily available.
That's right. And it's based upon a valuation date as of July 1st, 2020. So the date of valuation.
That's only a short time ago. It's not going to have gone through a material change. I'm asking a straightforward question. What is the difference between the assessed value, the most recent assessed value, and the appraised value? You're the head of your real estate. You should be able to answer that question.
We'll get that information for you, Councillor. Obviously, the basis of valuation that we use is always based on its fair market value, and we use an independent appraiser to do that. So we don't use assessed value to do that.
But we're not selling to a private developer on this property. We are selling it to the Park Board, another organization within the city.
We are transferring it, and so when the Property Endowment Fund makes that transfer, it's essentially recovering the funds so it can replace those existing assets. So there is no profiting there. They simply would take the funds from that transfer, and then they would replace those income producing assets within the fund.
Has there been an examination done to look at the merits of this approach when dealing internally in the city versus externally selling to outside buyers?
It's Nick Azamia, General Manager, Real Estate. I would suggest that, as you're well aware, the PF is an enduring fund, and in order to preserve the value of the fund, practice and policy has been that the PF transacts at fair market value. So if I had to go purchase property today from the market, I would be purchasing at fair market value, and same with disposition. So generally that's been the practice for us, is to deal in fair market value and get those third-party independent appraisals to validate the values that we are transacting at.
Well, since we're voting on this today, and I won't have the opportunity to look at the fair market appraisals versus the assessed value, that makes it difficult to make a decision on this. But if that's the answer, that's the answer.
Councillor, it's Paul Moker here. Council always has the opportunity to refer matters back to staff for more information if Council is not prepared to make the decision today. And I would just reinforce the point that Nick made there, that these are properties that were acquired by the PEF they're being transferred to parks. There's a policy decision here, certainly for council, generally around the PEF, but I would say that if properties are transferred out of the PEF at less than fair market value over time, the opportunity or the capacity of the PF to acquire more properties in the future for this type of purpose will be eroded. So that is the policy consideration here.
We'll
I
need to leave it
understand.
there. We are just past 5 minutes. Thank you, Councillor Hardwick, and thank you, City Manager. Councillor Weeb.
Yeah, I have a question to Dave Hutch, and this is on, is there an opportunity in